The Dark Souls Remaster has a network test going. I've tried it out, as I'm sure many of you have, but for those of you who don't have access to it for one reason or another, here are my impressions. And if you have any specific questions, ask them down below in the comments. I know a lot of people are interested in toggle escape or whatever, for example, and that appears to be in. If you're after more general impressions of the remaster, check my other video from a few weeks back. But this one I mostly wanted to make so I could have some 60fps footage on a properly calibrated display with no freaky gamma issues. To briefly touch on that, yes, this is still mostly the same game visually. The main changes there would be lighting and special effects. That is to say lighting, bonfires, torches, spell effects, item effects, particle effects, and so forth. A lot of this will come down to personal preference if you prefer the new ones or the old ones. Personally, I think the new fog gates look fine, but a lot of people seem to dislike them. The new bonfires, well, I prefer the old ones where they had that slow, almost magical and hypnotic movement. Again, preference. One big problem the original Dark Souls had was horrible optimization of these particle effects. Going through fog gates, for example, seemed to explode the engine. I imagine that's one reason for these changes. Aside from that, 60fps is of course the biggest change. If you haven't played on PC using DS Fix, then it will be a large improvement for you. And even then, the DS Fix version of 60fps still has some anomalies, such as cutscene juddering. But by and large, those are the visual changes. A few new effects, higher resolution and higher frame rate. Gameplay changes include larger multiplayer pool, dedicated servers for matchmaking, putting it in line with every other Souls game, passwords, and so on. Can't confirm it myself, but IGN said there's a bonfire next to Vamos now, so maybe we can expect minor adjustments like that. The network test was another way to confirm, in a better environment, that this is the Dark Souls you know and remember, love or hate. That is to say, if you used to like how it played, you're probably going to enjoy this. If you hated Dark Souls, nothing much has changed, you're still going to hate it. It felt about identical to play, and you can remap the buttons, which is good. Putting jump on L3 makes me a very happy Alex. How does the PvP feel though? The network test classes were a little comical in that sense. They basically re-released the old 2011 E3 demo, I think it was, where you could choose a few classes such as Soldier, Knight, Witch, Warrior of Sunlight, Black Knight, and so forth. But if you're a witch and you fight a Black Knight, you're kinda dunskies. Sunskies. The PvP felt mostly identical to how it used to be though. There's still people who are gonna slap you from 20 meters away, there's still crazy backstab shenanigans, and you can still chain backstab players and enemies. Now this was probably my imagination, or stemmed from the fact I haven't PvP'd in the first Dark Souls in years, but it felt to me like backstab fishing was slightly improved, as in it felt like it wasn't quite so easy to just strafe in the opposite direction to someone and score a backstab after sort of phasing through their body. Again though, take that with a grain of salt as it's been years since I PvP'd in Dark Souls 1. And I never liked backstab fishing to begin with, though it wasn't something I did all that often. But it was something I wanted to test, and if I didn't imagine it, that would suggest that perhaps the angle or cone of backstabs might have been reduced ever so slightly, so as in you need to be more specifically placed to initiate it, but otherwise backstabs work the same. No wind up, you can't be knocked out of them, you're invincible during them, and all that good stuff. Or terrible stuff, depending on how much you hate backstabs. And how they dominated PvP. For the most part though, PvP felt identical. All of the same mini glitches and things you used to be able to do seem to be present, including a few that I'm positive they patched out, so we'll have to see what's going to be patched in the remaster at this point. If PvP is a big factor for you, hurrah! If you liked it in the first game, you'll probably like it here. But then do keep in mind that invaders can now use Estus. Seems to be working on a similar way to Dark Souls 3. If you have 5 Estus, you'll have 2 as an invader, so no more humanity healing. That's... whether or not you think that's a good change depends on you. I feel like the PvP is going to be a lot like Dark Souls 3, in that people will run into gank squads all the time, because you can have like 3 phantoms, and even if 2 invaders show up, it's still a bit lopsided towards the host, shall we say. But hey, this new password matchmaking system means that hosting fight clubs is going to be easier and better than ever, which I think is a good thing. Oh, and just to clarify, dedicated servers is for the matchmaking, not the whole online session. That's why you'll still get shenanigans like some dude warping across the world to backstab you. I think that's about all there is to say for now. But again, if you have any questions I didn't answer, ask them down below and I'll get back to you ASAP. I hope this video was useful or entertaining, and I'll see you next time. The remaster is out on the 25th of May 2018. If you own the original version on Steam, you'll get a 50% discount. The original version on Steam, by the way, is no longer available for purchase. If you already have it, you can still see it and download it, but you can't buy a new copy or buy it as a gift for someone anymore. Until next time, ciao.